Hello, everybody. This is Cynthia Gardner O'Neill, and I'm here with my co-host and partner in Heart Ventures, V. Lynn Hawkins. And we're here today on Adventures of the Heart, Building Wisdom Through Experience, to talk about relationships, amazing relationships that are happening these days, and the social heart. Now, I asked a question here is, what do you value in a relationship? And we're going to talk about some of those relationships. And Lynn and I are going to share with you our experiences of some of the most profound relationships that we've had in our lives and how our relationship to ourselves, to our families, to our business, and socially, culturally, to life and death, all those things, those relationships to those things have changed as we move into a higher consciousness. As we, and I was told by somebody there is no higher consciousness, but when, I call it that mostly because I believe when we move into a loving consciousness, that is something that has a higher vibration is what I'm talking about here. Something that really brings a great feeling of love and compassion and kindness into our lives. So I'm going to also turn it over here so Lynn can introduce herself, and she's going to have something to say about this wonderful show that we're going to be sharing with you today. Lynn, come on in, my dear.
Cynthia, hi everyone. Welcome to the show tonight. On the Adventures of the Heart, we are just going to blow it out with this whole conversation around relationships. My name is V. Lynn Hawkins. I'm the founder and dean of the P3 Academy of Social Entrepreneurship. It's a Skyhawk Enterprises company, and one of the companies in Skyhawk Enterprises is Skyhawk Philanthropic Ventures. And when you talk about relationships, there are so many realms that relationships are formed on. There's personal relationships, there's family relationships, there's business relationships, and there's a higher level to each one of those. And we're going to actually explore tonight, gaining wisdom through experience, the relationships that we've experienced. And we want to hear from you as to some of the relationships that you've experienced, what you've learned, what some of the things that you've overcome through those relationships, and what you see on the other side, the value that you've experienced out of those relationships. So I'm just thrilled to be here as usual, and I'm so excited about the conversation ahead. So, Cynthia, I'm going to toss the ball back to you. Let's get rocking and rolling.
Okay. Well, as I said before, I'm Cynthia Gardner O'Neill. I am the founder of the Center for Loving Consciousness. And loving consciousness is all about relationships. And I actually have said that love creates all life through its desire for experience. Now, we can't have an experience without relationship to something or someone. Even an atom has to have a relationship with another atom, or a cell, moves into another cell. It's always there's that, something happening, some kind of experience happening between something or someone. One cannot be here without the other, and that's why we also live in a life that, a lot of people talk about duality. I really believe we live in a world that is in harmony. That's how it was meant to be. To have, a masculine and feminine energy, to have the good and the bad, to have, light and dark, to have, those, they're not opposing, but they are actually here together because they create harmony. And so in that harmony, we have a choice to pick out whether we want to spend more time in the light or in the dark, or be more masculine or more feminine, or to love more. And there's another part, to love. A lot of people say, what's the opposite of love? Well, there is no opposite to love. It just is. And, sometimes we feel like we get a broken heart or we're separated from love, but you know what? That's our choice. We have the ability of free will and choice. So I really believe we live in a harmonic world, but we, through our choices, decide how we're going to live it. And we can be more one-sided or the other. So I think relationships are about taking responsibility for who we are today. And we're going to be talking about a little more about that and how, even technology and social media and the global relationships and how the internet has changed relationships. We're going to talk about men and women and how the relationships between men and women have changed. Also cultures. Even people with their skin color, how that has changed so much, and what we're recognizing, really what skin color is all about was our experience in our environment and how it changed the way our skin color is. And also how people, even Eskimos, them being in the environment of snow all the time and everything, and notice how there are a lot of places people's eyes are a little bit different. Their shapes of their eyes and stuff. That had a lot to do with the environment. Same thing with their skin. And then we get into, so our relationship with our environment has a lot to do with who we are. And then the ethnic relationships. A lot of all that stuff, we're recognizing now the commonality between one another. I don't believe we're here to find our differences. I believe we're here to find a common thread. And that common thread is our hearts and love. Also, we're going to be talking about heart relationships. How the heart connects. And then life and death. And how, what that really means and what we've been taught, one thing, but guess what? There's something else more and bigger going on out there. We also are going to talk about humanity and our relationship with nature and the cosmos, and how nature is showing up because of our way to connect with one another. We're watching how everything is having a relationship different than what we've ever been told could be possible. And then philanthropy, charity, and the meaningful relationships, leaving a legacy. Meaningful relationships, and no longer, are we finding it's about what's in it for me. Now today it's about how can I learn better ways to make a difference in this world. And then the biggest one of all now is the relationship with the self, the relationship you have here, and it begins right here. What do you think of all that, Lynn?
Well, I definitely think that we've got a meaty conversation tonight.
Yeah.
I really do. And I also believe that with everything that you talked about, there's one underlying premise, and it keeps coming up because as we grow into adulthood, we get educated. We start learning that possibly some of the things that we grew up in, some of the environmental things that we experienced that we thought were the way things were supposed to be, are not that. And our challenge has become to learn more, to continue kind of bringing that education in so that we can see the higher level thinking that we're coming into. Because when I think about it, as we grow up, we're exposed into our environment, family and otherwise, and we get indoctrinated. And a lot of people in a lot of places call it propagandized and socialized a certain way. But as we become of age to take responsibility for ourselves, we also must learn that it is our responsibility to take that learning to another level. And what I mean by that is learning that you have choice in how you're going to react to some things. You have choice in what it is that you will accept as truth, what you will reject as truth. And some of the things you learned growing up may be things that you end up rejecting as truth because you've learned that they really are no longer that truth. And, when we talk about moving into our own personhood and standing in your truth and being authentic, there are a lot of people out there who just don't know what that means because they haven't found, and you did a lot of talking about it, that balance. Light is one extreme, as dark is the other. When you come into the center of them, you find illumination. And I know you talk a lot about this. And that illumination is, in fact, balance. It is the openness to understand the weight of light and the weight of dark so that you can do the dance with both of them and be the higher consciousness that we're talking about. And, I loved how you even talked about, the whole masculine and feminine. And what really struck me when I first learned about coming into harmony was the scenario of up and down. And for me, it was more of the weight of justice, the scales of justice. And the fact that the pictures that you see, because they are still, they're stuck right here. And they seem to denote balance. But you know what? Balance is a continuum. And so the way things vibrate up and down, the way they vibrate, to be in balance means that there's a constant vibration. And that vibration is level enough, it's congruent enough that it resonates from the heart. And you talk about this in such a beautiful scientific way that I want to bring that into the conversation as well, because again, when people don't know that they have choice about what they believe and what they don't believe, and then take responsibility and choice and pull them together to create balance, to find that higher understanding and come into a higher consciousness belief, they're stuck. And many of us in our human experience don't even understand that. And I look at, the human experience. Wow. Now that's huge. And, when you're talking about the human experience, while we're kids, we have a kid experience. And in that kid experience, it really becomes serious because we are so focused, don't even know it, on interpreting everything that's happening to us. And in that interpretation, we learn to react. Some of those things, as we grow up, we apply consciousness to and can change those thoughts. But a lot of things we don't. A lot of things never get touched until we're at an age or in a circumstance that brings it up. And then what we find is the emotional attachment to whatever it is shows up for us. Thus, we are in our human experience. And what we're talking about today in the way of relationship is, how do you bring that human experience into a heart experience? And how do you improve that human experience by the interjection of heart into your experience? Now, Cynthia, that brings up something that I love the way that you explain, and that is the power of the heart. In our human experience, we don't even realize sometimes how much our heart plays into things. If anybody's ever hurt you and you're in a situation and that same experience is repeating itself, you go into the hurt heart. You shut down, you react, whatever the experience is, it tends to repeat itself. And that's where we hear about people having patterns. And we know that the heart also has patterns. Tell us a little bit about how the heart plays into all of this.
Well, as you said, the heart does create form. We now know that, as far as the harmony in the heart has a lot to do with, we have the golden ratio, the 1.618 ratio of the sacred geometry that's in all things, in nature, and all that's been created. And to know that that is also a frequency that is a high level frequency of creating patterns, so you're talking about patterns and form. I could get so much. So the heartbeat is a signature sound of you. every experience that you've ever had, you know, even throughout your DNA, your lifetimes, all those kind of things, are the frequency within the heart. It is actually creating a pattern of your experiences, your relationships with life and with yourself. And there's a ton of science behind that I will do a specific class around why that is, because studying cymatics, studying Masaru Emoto and the healing powers of water and how water structure and then also heart math and all the information that they've given us about the heart. There's just so much that's there. But what's really the most important thing is when our hearts are in harmony, we can actually create harmony with everything. You know, it's like that tuning fork, you know. And a lot of times we're in discordance. You know, we've chosen to maybe have a feeling of resentment or anger, but a lot of this is also conditioned. So I'm going to go into that part of the heart because I'm going to tell a little bit of story here. I got a couple of stories for you today about how we're having new relationships. And because, you know, we've been told that we can't have those kind of relationships. And, you know, I, as a kid, was constantly told not to talk about these certain things, these experiences that I had. And they were experiences. And so when my father died when I was 7, and when he died, the thing is I was still having a relationship with him. Our hearts were connected. I could feel him. He was there. He was very, you know, and also at that age, at 7 years old, I didn't know what grief was. I knew what love was. I knew I loved my father and my father loved me, and I still felt that love when he passed away. But what happened was I was really in a situation where also I could feel everyone around me. And so I began to feel all the sadness and all the grieving and all the stuff. And so all of a sudden I realized, my gosh, I probably should be, you know, everybody was looking at me like, how come I'm not crying over my father's death? And so then I was kind of put in this situation where I go, God, am I doing something wrong? Am I, you know, everybody, it was almost like, you know, it was poor child, you know, she doesn't know what's going on here. The thing is they didn't know what was going on here. I still had a relationship with my father. It was just a different kind of relationship than what we've been told that we can have. This is huge. And I continue to have a relationship with him. And it's very profound. I have proof around it, all kinds of things that have shown up to validate this experience. And those are great stories I love to tell. But along with that, I also have experiences with ascended masters. I have experiences with people who've transitioned. You know, when I work with clients hands-on, I'm an intuitive healer. I have an experience. And I have to translate it into this human experience. So those are the stories that I love to tell. And I'm going to tell 2 main stories so you guys can understand where I'm coming from. Many of you might go, oh, she's crazy. Well, guess what? I've gotten that all my life, so it doesn't bother me. You know, it's what I'm sharing with you, you know, is about my experience, my understanding. And you can do what you want with it because you have a different experience and belief system and things like that you've come from. But I'm here to open you up to knowing that we can have a great experience with life. And the thing is, what's really sad today is human life is controlled through the taking of human life. We've been conditioned to feel, you know, all the sadness and grief and all these things without knowing that life is eternal. And I always say there's a great quote I heard, which was anonymous, which is, the immortality is the only cause worth dying for. You know, when we pass from this earth, guess what? Life is eternal. And I know that for, you know, a truth and a fact and an understanding that I have because of my experiences in my life. So I'm going to tell you about 2 experiences that I had with a couple of clients of mine. And this is about a new relationship. One of them was a young woman. She was 23 years old, which was a client of mine who I was working with. And all of a sudden her sister came through, who had died when she was 17 years old, 3 years prior, in a car accident. And the next thing I know, you know, we've had this great experience together, and at the end of our experience with the work I was doing with my client ask her why she's left us. Why did she leave us? And the response of the experience that I got back was, we don't leave you, you leave us. We've been so conditioned that we cannot have an experience with people when they leave this physical world. And so that was a big aha, very profound for me. And then the next, on the same day, I ended up having a woman who came in who was referred to me because her pain the last couple of years had just gotten worse and worse, and I work with pain. And so she came in to me, and I noticed that it was masculine energy within her body, and I asked her, I said, are you having a lot of issues and a lot of your pain around some masculine energy? And what happened was her father came through. Her father had passed 2 years prior to me seeing her, and they were so close. They were, incredibly close. And every time his birthday came around or a special time in their lives came around, she was just in pain over his death. And so when he came through, what was amazing, and then always this is validated, they're always validated who they are and with information that most people wouldn't get. And what happened is he shared with us, he said, my darling, no one wants to be the reason for anyone's pain, especially the ones we're closest to, the ones we love. Please set me free and yourself, and just know that you can have a relationship with me. Love me just as I am, And so it was really incredible. All of a sudden she had this aha moment, oh my gosh, because they feel us. And what was really funny, this is, she said to me, oh my God, if my father's always around, can he see me naked? Can he see me having sex? That's the big thing that people are so worried about. But you know what? No, because they're all energy. They don't live in this physical world anymore. It's not physical. What they do is they feel you. They feel your pain. They feel your happiness, your joy, your pleasure. It's all about feeling. It's all about experience, having an experience. So I just want to share that with you. This is really important for us to start seeing life in a new way, that we are constantly still in relationship with everything, because everything is energy, including you. So that's one of my stories that I want to share with you today, and then I'm going to have a really good one with you about relationship with nature and hawks and all those kind of things. And I know I can see my partner in there, Lynn, just coming through because, yeah, you have things to share here too.
Oh my gosh. It wasn't until we started working together for a couple of months that we both realized how different yet how similar our stories are. And one of the stories I want to share with everyone is, like Cynthia, my dad died when I was 7. He was 29, and he died of a massive heart attack. And I've had 2 experiences in my life that have changed my life, affected my life in profound ways, and I say in the blink of an eye, because that's exactly what happened. He was gone, that blink, things changed. The second was my son, losing my son 2.5 years ago. He was gone, my life changed, and nothing has been the same since, including me. And in both instances, it was truly a huge growth experience. Now, what I would say with my dad's death is happening at a time where, and growing up in a community where kids were not heard and were told not to be heard, to only be seen, and if you had to be seen, stay in the background. And that wasn't me. That wasn't the me that my dad was raising. And my mother was an excellent caregiver. So when my dad passed, my mom, it was the same thing. Things changed in the blink of an eye. And as I grew up, she needed me to do things, so I ended up having to forego a childhood and really be in the presence of the sadness and grief that engulfed our family. And my mom went on to be a minister, and I got to see her in a whole different light at the time that changed. And so with our family being very connected with church and just, the whole attitude of giving within our community, I learned to have a giving heart. And even taking care of our family, I learned to have a giving heart. What I did not learn was boundaries. What I did not learn was understanding that I had value in what it was that I was giving. And so I grew up to believe that that was my responsibility, just to give and not say anything about my own needs. And so when I found myself a mother of two, single parent, things totally changed because I became aware that if I did not take care of myself first, then my kids couldn't be taken care of. And if anything happened to me, what would happen to them? And so that was really the biggest shift in my life of energy around looking to future, looking to possibilities, and looking to the experience of life. I was just living before then. At that point, I began to live life. I made my experience of a childhood as the mother of two, and the three of us had so much fun as kids. And my kids were growing up. I'd always say I had three best friends. Two of them were my kids. And in my adult life, the giving nature stayed with me. And then one day it was identified to me that it was the heart of philanthropy. And so I'll tell you a little bit about that a little later. But I can think of numerous times in my growing up that once I decided I would give myself permission for my dad to be my angel, a lot of things in my life that probably could have taken me out, had me landed in jail, all kinds of things, I was able to see the open door and walk out of, one of which caused me and my kids to move from my hometown 700 miles away to leave an environment that could have ultimately resulted in my life, me losing my life. And so, with that, I just cannot impress upon everyone enough that the highest and best relationship beyond that with Source, whoever or whatever you call Source, is the relationship with yourself. And so, when I look at things like technology and men and women didn't understand me. So some of my best friends were men. Technology and me, man, when we first got exposed to technology, I jumped in it. I was all in it, all over it, because I could have a heart relationship with technology. Technology wasn't going to reach out and try and stab me in the heart. And then the whole life and death thing, what really kept me close to understanding the value in the relationship of the unseen was not just my relationship with God and Jesus and the angels, and it was truly the relationship with my dad, being on the other side and knowing that he had an aunt, my great Aunt Susie. If any of you had an Aunt Susie, I had an Aunt Susie, and Aunt Susie used to tell me, "Girl, I'm praying for you. Sweetie pie, I'm praying for you." And I felt when she passed, I knew the day and the time. I found out years later that it was that day and time. And I have to tell you that I know Aunt Susie is out there now sending me some energy. And I love that I now can really express the truth of those relationships. And, I have to also say that I have had some friendship relationships with women during the years that have been some of the most profound relationships that have helped me cross some bridges in my own life. And I have found yet another with my business partner, Cynthia. And I'm so blessed and grateful for that, because we are, as I mentioned, so alike and so different. You know, we talk about this balance thing, and she's like, Lynn, I'm levity and you're gravity, and together we just balance out, and it's
We
so
make
true.
harmony.
Harmony, yeah.
Absolutely. Lynn, gosh, you had so many, I mean, all these relationships. We cannot be here without relationships. And what motivates us to have relationships is love. You
Yes.
know, I talk to people even in business and everything about bringing the heart, you know, into their lives and into their business and everything, because it's not separate from it. And the thing is, um, you know, the heart and the love that's flowing through there, the energy and motion, the emotions and all those things. You know, I ask people, you know, what motivates you to get up in the morning? What motivated you to be an entrepreneur and start a business and try to make a difference in the world? You know, a lot of times I never have anybody answer and go love, but everybody will answer and say, my kids, my business, my this, my that, you know, my dog, my, you know, whatever. They'll say, this is what's motivating me to go do what I'm doing so I can take care of something or do something, you know, that makes me happy or whatever. That, all of that stuff, the core of it is love, period. Nothing would exist here without love. And, you know, and I talk about, you asked me about form and about structure and about patterns, and, you know, the sacred geometry came in. You know that patterns cannot be. You know, there can be no sacred geometry if there's no love, because love is the thread that sews all patterns together. If you have discordant energy or polluted, so for example, Masaru Emoto, he did where he shows, and this is what I got out of it. This is what I got out of this experiment. He would take water from a polluted reservoir, and he had frozen the water, put it under to see what the water structure was. Well, guess what? There was no structure. There was no form. It was deformed. It was just muck. That's all it was. There was no beautiful snowflake in there. There was no water molecule, no sacred geometry, nothing, because it was polluted and toxic and negative, whatever you want to call it. And then what he would do is he would introduce to the same water, he would introduce a beautiful word, even put a word, love, on the jar of this water, or play beautiful music to it. Everything carries a frequency. And that frequency of love, like I said, is the 1.618 golden ratio that creates, you know, patterns in everything. It's a pattern it's the pattern within everything. And what would happen, it would change the structure of the water. So when he froze it and put it underneath the microscope, all of a sudden, you know what? There was a pattern there. There was a snowflake. There was this beautiful crystal that was constantly flowing and alive. You know, it went from muck to alive, okay? And that's what makes the patterns of life, is your love, your heartbeat. When you're in harmony within your heart, you're having relationships with things, and you're creating experiences, and that's what creates the form and all the possibilities and fulfilling our potential. It's infinite when we are in our love. And so a lot of people ask me about pain and things like that. Then why is there pain and everything? Well, you know, because we are been conditioned and taught through thousands of years to respond in certain ways. You know, there's a quote, and I don't remember who the person who says this, but they said, you can hear a lie 1,000 times, and when you hear a truth, you won't believe it. This is what's happened to us. But we now, because of the connection we have socially, the internet and everything, we're learning about how other people live, how other people are doing things. I love a lot of the stuff that we're seeing about nature. You know, the unusual relationships within nature. I mean, if you guys put in that, you know, Google that, unusual relationships with nature, and ask the images. Oh my gosh, the animals that are having relationships with each other, that we were told they will never have a relationship because one's going to eat the other. Well, guess what? We're seeing that happen, because guess what? We're able to share that information now collectively. And so the collective consciousness is changing because of what we're experiencing on the internet. Information that we're receiving today is changing how we have a relationship with ourselves and with the world around us and within our environment. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this story next about experience in nature. But I'm going to turn it back over to Lynn, because we each have so much that we want to share with you in this hour, and then we're going to go and have an after show where you can come in and we can have discussions about. I'd love to hear your experiences. I want to hear all those unusual experiences, and please put your experiences, you know, no matter how unusual they are, you know, put them in there. Let's hear, let's share with people, to show people we can live in this world in a totally different way. Because you know what? We only experience maybe 1% of what is. 99% we haven't even experienced yet, that is available to us in this world. I'm so excited about that. I love an innocent perception, and that innocent perception comes with the wow. The wow word, okay? And that, you know, innocent perception of my children when they were in kindergarten, first grade, and my relationship with them, and having that, seeing through their eyes. You know, they taught me how to continue to be innocent in my own perception, so that I can bring in the awe and wonder into my own life. And that wow that I'm talking about, you know, my kids, they came home, they were learning sign language, and they come home and they're like, Mom, we learned something new, we're learning sign language, look it. So whenever we have a wow moment together, a wow experience, the big wow comes out. And then they go, Mom. Okay. So how about that experience we just had together?
I love that. The first time I saw you do that, I woke up with that picture on my mind, just laughing. Wow. You know, I can remember some wow experiences, but I have to tell you, they were as an adult. I don't remember a lot of wow experiences as I was growing up. You know, I think about even the pain that I felt in my childhood wasn't the pain that some others may have felt. It wasn't like horrible, painful, torture type stuff, but you know, in relative to any amount of pain, the experience of not having a childhood is painful. The experience of growing up in your childhood and not feeling loved is painful. The experience of growing up in your childhood knowing that there was a point in time where you felt heard, you felt supported, you felt loved, you felt valued, and it was gone and the opposite showed up is painful. And I thought for a long time that I would not ever dare to tell my story, and really shunned away from it. You know, when asked about my story, I would deflect, turn the tables, and have the other person to stand in the light of sharing their experiences. And for me, I'd always go to the adult experiences that I felt were worthy of being a part of anyone's story. And what I realized is that it actually kept me bound. It kept me locked up, and it kept my heart from being full and in its completeness all the time. There were some people that I would experience that I could just be me and in my full and complete heart self, And there were others that I was just like, no, I am not showing up that way. And my protection, again, was going to left brain. One of the things that I realized was even then, there were so many things that I did that were so right brain that it caused me to excel in a lot of things that I did. As a manager and a leader and in executive management in the corporate environment, I was always drawn to the executive positions that I could make a difference. You know, it was a company who was on the brink of failure, yet when I came in and was able to rebuild a team, to get structure in place, there were so many creative methods that I was able to utilize, and that people that worked for me so enjoyed being a part of. I remember one of the companies that I worked for, I had 10 applications in a year, 10 inquiries to come into my department, even to do job shares, because people wanted the experience of what I was bringing to my group, my team. And then, you know, even then, the opportunity grew to my ability to experience building teams that then built teams that built teams. So we were like teams 3 levels deep and nationwide, and I mean it was amazing. And I never even realized how powerful that really was. Now, I didn't take it for granted, but I just did not realize the amazing power that that had in that spin of energy. And it has been on this side of things where I am in my entrepreneurial self, where I have been called to be, because 2 things I think very important for me, to experience what I learned about having and moving in millions and billions of dollars, and the experience of business and helping entrepreneurs. And when I see the 2 of them coming together, and the desire that I have, the mission that I'm on, that the P3 Academy and Skyhawk Enterprises is on, you know, I go back to the left brain systems will help me do that. But heart and people and relationships are what's going to have the experience and the benefit of all of that. So I am just moving so powerfully forward in what I recognize is my calling. Like my mom was called into the ministry and, you know, made a name for not just her, but for African American women in ministry, in the traditional ministries. You know, my mom was one of 3 of the first women ordained in the Presbyterian ministry. And she opened the door, she helped open the door for other African American women to step into that level of leadership and responsibility. My mom was the one who taught me how to write my first grant. And I wrote my grants initially at the age of 17 and 18 years old to help her to get funding for a project that she did in the city where I grew up, that parts of it are still alive today. If you have heard of Meals on Wheels in any way, shape, or form, having the groups of elderly that are supported by Meals on Wheels, that was one of her programs. And so I'm just blessed in so many ways to know that the journey that I have been on, that has brought me here today to talk about relationships, and just not just human relationships, but social relationships, and the value in these amazing relationships that I've experienced, I know are part of what's going to be my mission, my calling, my message over the next 40 40 years or so. And I'm so excited about that because a lot of these things are in the works now. And, you know, we talk about, there's a lot that's being spoken about, well, where is technology going these days? And forward is the answer. Um, where are male and female relationships going these days? Forward. Not just men being men's best friends and women being women's best friends, and I'm not referring to gay relationships as much as I am the heart friendships that make men and women best friends, that make kids okay to be best friends with kids of other cultures and other ethnicities, and the relationships that bring religious people of different religions that practice different religious beliefs together as friends. It's just amazing how we're moving these days, and I say forward, but it's an upward movement. It's forward and upward, because when we talk about higher consciousness, and I love the way that you put it, it is a heart consciousness. It is a higher consciousness because it is a higher frequency. And when I think about Dr. David Hawkins and the emotional scale, 500 is love is 500, and 500 is the middle of the scale. So think about what happens when we can go above the love number. Above love is all heart, because in heart we're able to come into the expansion of the frame of reference that allows differences to be okay, that allows for you talked about the animals, the elephant and the rhino playing together, the horse and the dog riding on the horse's back, the dog and the cat sleeping together, loving each other. These are some of the things that we're seeing now, and as we see more of this consciousness coming into play of 500 and above, love and above, we're going to see more of that occur. If you want a better relationship with your spouse, with your kids, with business relationships, take it to the heart. If you want a better relationship with yourself, if you've got illness in your body, if you've got emotional discordance, think about the love. Bring the heart into it. Love or above is actually where we will be seeing healing of the world. And when we collectively, I love how you brought that up, the collective consciousness comes together, that's when you're talking about healing our planet.
Yeah, well, you know, consciousness literally means unity of mind. And you know, we're adding the collective consciousness, but it's already, you know, collective. But,
yep.
You know, in our language and how we speak and how we've learned to kind of separate things, it is about us learning that it's all one. It's all the same. And, you know, our differences are here. You know, so we're not here to find out what our differences are. We're here to find what our commonalities are. And we find that the commonality, the common thread between us all is that love. And I really believe even in the where you were quoting from the book Power versus Force, the measurement was only in measurement of our energy and how we perceive life. I think love is immeasurable because love is all that everything is. And even the heart, you know, when I talk about the connection of the heart, the relationships of the heart, yes, we have learned that the heart is, you know, 60 to 80 times more amplified than any part of our body and 5,000 times more electromagnetic than any part of our body. But that's what we can measure. We are starting to measure the immeasurable. And we've watched it change over the years, you know, of we at one time said that something didn't exist. I mean, it even starts back to when, you know, we thought the world was flat. And now, you know, after a while, some people still thought the world was flat and made fun of the people who said it was round. You know, again, back to that, you know, we could hear a lie 1,000 times. Really, was it really a lie? Well, actually, it was all that anybody knew at that time. You know, it's all that we could measure at that time. So we have to be open. We have to change our perception. We have to have that innocent perception to watch our lives and observation, witnessing. You know, those are actually bringing in an experience. Our five senses, you know, they're about the physical, but we have senses way beyond that, which is our heart sense. Okay, it is the wisdom of the heart is actually what takes the physical, and you know, it adds to our experiences, adds to our heartbeat, and what we're creating, what's in our heart, what is vibrating in our hearts out, we get back 100 times plus. We create our reality from the experiences that we have and what we hang on to. You were talking about having a painful past. Well, guess what? Through us changing our perception today, we can change our past. You know, I always say to people who are in pain and are having a difficult time, and they're being the victim, and they're being all kinds of things, and they're staying there. And I always say to them, would you like to have a different story? Would you like to change that pattern? You know, you can. You can. You know, I believe we are all born with an agreement to receive all life has to give and to transform it into something even better. Why? Because we can. We can. We have that free will and choice. So, you know, I choose every day to wake up and have a new experience with life. I know there's certain things that I have in place so that I can, you know, just like being here. Time, you know, time is something that helps us manage our experiences. But don't let it overtake the experiences that you have. And this is what a lot of people do. This is why people a lot of times in business, you know, they spend their health to get their wealth, and then they have to spend their wealth to get their health back. What kind of relationship is that? You know, when I went through I went through financial devastation, the foreclosure of my home, a divorce, about 4 or 5 years ago, and I realized I just had to change my relationship to myself. And I realized that I needed to go ahead and let that all go. Because if I stressed over it, if I had attachment to it, I would have ended up in the hospital or dead, or a heart attack. That's what, you know, the #1 killer disease of humanity is heart disease. And the heart is the central communication of every single cell in the body. And, you know, it starts in the heart first, and then it communicates to the cells in the brain, and then the brain does communicate to every single cell, but it starts in the heart first. What you feel in the heart, you feel first before you think. And, you know, we have to realize that we are learning these new things, and we can do life in a different way. It's being open, having that innocent perception to learn something new, to have new experiences. Because too many people, they stay there. They have an accident and they start resenting someone, or they don't feel like they're in a place where they can contribute anymore. But the thing is you just have to do life a different way. You know, we are babies, you know, and then we start crawling, and then we start walking, and then we start growing and having new experiences, and our bodies change as we mature. You know, we have to do it a certain way, a different way all the time. But doesn't mean it's the wrong way, or we should, oh gosh, I'm aging and I'm going to end up this way or that way. Well, guess what? That's so programmed, you know, and just, we don't have to do it that way. We can do it our way and what feels good for ourselves. So I'm going to end on a really good note. I want to tell a story about having a new kind of relationship, and that would be with the hawk. Because I think it's a really great story to teach people that we don't have to have a relationship the way we've been told, with animals, with another person, with another human being, with a different culture, with different religions, or all the things. You know, we all are loved, and we all can have an opportunity to have a great experience and accept one another, and instead of judgment. You know, judgment was put into place to actually separate us. Because when we're separate, we fall real easy, and we're so controlled by whatever's out there that's trying to control us. And when we come together and we recognize our commonality and our hearts and the love that we are, we will never want to hurt another, and we would never judge another, but we should only use judgment, okay? When we judge, to judge with kindness to find truth. You know that, and that's finding truth is about helping people take responsibility for the choices that they've made, or the choices that we've made. You know, we need to take responsibility when we make a mistake. It's okay to make a mistake. That's, you know, what life is all about, and it's, you know, it's all we know in the moment. So before I end with that story about the hawk, Lynn, my heart venture that's come in, you know, you can see that Lynn and I, we work differently, but we have the same intentions in this world, to make heart connections. And as Lynn has always taught me, you know, open hearts, open hearts. And the two of us coming together, we have, you know, ways of doing things in our own individual way, that also we meet in our hearts to where we do the common thing where we want to make a meaningful difference in the world. We want to help people to have a wonderful, exciting life, so they can open themselves up to new relationships that bring them to a place of total bliss. You know, I love Joseph Campbell. He says, follow your bliss.
Yeah.
You know what? It changes everything. And I change your value by changing what you value.
Oh my gosh. What else is there to say after that? It was actually a beautiful vision of how the two of us work so well together. And it's a great way to understand how you, out there in our audience, might be able to build similar relationships, whether for business or in life. And one of the things is just being open and knowing that in asking, the universe will provide. And I think Cynthia and I both were at the place of asking, and then we showed up to do some things, and it just went on from there. And when I think about our heart venture, it's actually called Your Heart Venture, because the mission of our venture, our heart venture, is to help to build relationships for business, for life. And in doing so, we did just last week two of the 2.5 days of a mastermind. I mean, a master class. It was actually called Fulfilling Your Potential, and it was the first of 4 segments. The first one is connecting. How do I connect in relationships? Where do I find the connections that will best serve me to my highest and best good, but the connections that I am more able to help at my highest and best levels? And then when I find them, how do I retain them? And I'm talking about our customers and clients. And what we had was 16 modules of training that basically laid out from A to Z everything that I can think of about connections in business, including this concept of business structure and business movement called the Vortex Model of Doing Business with Gina Gaudio-Graves. We had David Bullock, the creator of Story Leverage, to actually teach about the construct of story, your story, how to deconstruct your existing story, reconstruct it, how to use it in various ways in order to draw and attract people to you who are your ideal clients. And then he talked about how you continued the cycle of story so that you can retain those clients, so that you can have them to be your raving fans. And it really was the door that opened for me that helped me to really understand the value of my own story, helped me to see the beauty of my own story, and the fact that the journey has just begun. One of the things that we did was connect the connections to other 3 master classes that are planned in the upcoming months. From connect, we go to collaborate, and then to create, and then to contribute. And we would love for each and every one of you out there to join us. You'll be able to find information. You'll find links in the event page of how to find out more information about the Connect Masterclass and every Masterclass that's coming up. And it's not just the Masterclass, it's the community. Oh my gosh, talk about relationship with technology. We had an amazing 2 days utilizing this platform of Google Plus and Google Hangouts on Air, and the relationship that we just experienced was, in my opinion, one of the best I've had with technology. It was exciting, it was fun, it was interactive, it was just a 360-degree full experience. And I wanted to share that. Thank you, Cynthia, for allowing me to share that, because that is our heart venture, and it's the door that opens you to experience more of the work that we're doing together for the benefit of our audience.
Yeah. And so to connect that, okay, to our relationships, also Lynn and I will, I'm also a wilderness outfitter. And during the summer months, July and August, especially July, August, and there will probably possibly a September here in Colorado, which, you know, in September is when all the aspens are changing, and it's absolutely so gorgeous and beautiful. But we are talking about putting together we have a retreat we're planning, which you'll come out, we'll be on horseback, and we'll be learning. So we have that coming up, and the reason why I bring that up to connect everything together is about having new relationships and allowing yourself to go have a new experience in life. Because when we do, it actually shifts us out of maybe some old stuff that we've been doing over and over again and we can't break loose. When we go to a new environment and we have a new experience, it can really change things for you. And so we're putting together some very powerful, incredible retreats for you. We have one that on horseback, and then we have also
in nature.
Yeah, and in nature. So to finish this whole thing off, I want to share with you a story about a relationship that I had with hawks. And we're always told that we can't have that kind of relationship. But when I take people into the wilderness to help them have a new relationship with themselves and with nature, to learn about what unconditional love truly is, we go into nature, and of course we have bears and mountain lions and, you know, coyotes, all kinds of things that are out there. But going in, I always say to everybody, you know, I'm in harmony with nature, and nature's in harmony with me. And when we go in with that harmony in our hearts, we're harmonized with all of life. And so we don't put out a frequency of stress. We don't put a frequency of fear out there, because when we put out a frequency of fear or something like that, what we attract is a predator. So know that your frequency that's happening in your heart, if you have any kind of negativity or any kind of resentment or any of those 8 demons that separate you from love, which we're, you know, I've told we're never separated from love. You know, we're just unaware of our connection to it always. But it's really important to know that just be in harmony, and when you set an intention, you make it happen. So the story that I'm going to share with you is I really just I was going through some major changes after I'd lost everything, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my life? And I came to this place where I was like going, is this where I'm supposed to be? Please show me a sign. Show me a feather. And I went out for a hike, and all of a sudden I came upon lots of turkey feathers, and all kinds of stuff was showing up for me. And then I saw the hawks. The hawks were out, and they had always invited me. You know, they were always flying around and talking to me, and I was having a great experience with them. And I decided at this time I really wanted to know more about the hawk. So I went inside and I did, you know, I studied the animal totems, and I studied, you know, the regular physical stuff about the hawk and everything about them. And I set out that evening to go out and have, have an experience with the hawk. I wanted to go commune with the hawks. So I set out on my path, and I went walking out, and I had my backpack on, and I had a journal in there, and I was just going to go out and just have whatever experience that showed up with me for me. And I went walking down the path, and normally there's a gate there that I normally would open, but I decided I was just going to climb on over. But you could see right through the gate and see the walkway, and there was nothing there in front. And when I came over the gate and turned around, down on the ground was this hawk. I thought it was a turkey at first, and all of a sudden I looked, and it was this big hawk with his, his talons and his beak and everything. And he looked at me, and then he turned around and he started walking down. He walked about 10 to 20 yards down through this grove of trees, and I followed him. I walked behind a hawk. He wasn't flying. He was walking. He walked down. So then, as he turned, he sat down at the end of the grove of the aspen trees, and I went around him and I stood next to him and I looked down and I said, mind if I join you? And I sat down next to the hawk, and he stayed there. And he looked around, and he looked at me, and he turned back, and and I was like, oh my God! So I pulled out my journal, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sitting with a hawk, I'm writing it all out, and what's going on. I sat there for about 45 minutes, and the most incredible thing happened while I was sitting there with him. I had this vision and this incredible view. It was just the sun was setting, and there was these clouds, but the rays of light were coming out, and I was sitting there with the hawk. But the next thing I know, here comes another hawk. She's up in the trees behind me. I knew it was the difference between them. I just studied the hawks and everything. The masculine energy of the hawk was sitting next to me, just witnessing, quiet as can be. Then the female hawk up behind me. And then she came swooping down, and I could feel her wing feathers on the back of my neck, and then she flew back up on the top of the treetops and just, wah, wah, just doing her thing. We're hanging out there. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm sitting there hanging out with these hawks, and she's talking away, he's silent. I thought for sure he would move. He never moved. Next thing I know, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I wish someone could see this so someone could validate, what was going on here. Next thing I know, here comes the guy that worked with us bringing up the horses on an ATV, and the horses were running right for us. Hawk stayed there. The female hawk stayed up in the trees. Horses came, about five feet from me, and they stopped dead because I stood up, and they stopped. The hawk still stayed there. And then the guy came up. I pointed to the hawks, and he gives me the thumbs up and takes the horses on up because we were going to go out on a wilderness adventure later on the next day. Well, I hung out there for a couple hours with the hawks. I had to leave them. Of course, this was their environment. This was their place. It wasn't up to me to scare them away or say, hey, all right, are you going to leave or am I going to leave? I left, and I went back, and I had this whole journal of this incredible experience I had with the hawks. Who would ever, we were told that we can't have those kind of experience. I say baloney. Have whatever experience that you desire to have. What your heart desires, you will create that relationship. So also, there's relationships with money, there's relationships with the air, there's the relationship with food, there's relationships with everything. Like I said, love creates all life through its desire for experience, and you cannot have an experience without relationship to something or someone. And guess what? It can be whatever your heart desires. You make that choice. That's what I want to empower you with. Whatever you want to do in your business, however you want to show up in the world and make a meaningful difference in someone's life, whatever legacy that you want to leave, it's not about, the material things and what you're attached to. It's about the relationship of the heart. And that's what we're here, Lynn and I, to teach in business. And we are going to have incredible experiences, and we want you to join us because I'll tell you what, these wilderness experiences that we're going to take you out on, you're going to learn a lot about yourself, and you're going to learn a lot about your business. You're going to learn a lot about life. And we're going to have a heck of a lot of fun. And that's what my life is about. I don't want to be that person who has stressed and ends up with a heart attack. I'm going to enjoy every moment. And I want you to join us to do the same. Our master class was amazing, and it's evergreen. You can come in, it's recorded. We are going to be in there communicating and helping out. Lynn is more, she's got that left, she's very harmonized and balanced. She's whole brain balanced. But her thing is more the left brain. You can see me, I'm more the right brain. And what we do is we come together and we create harmony. I end up helping people, support them, to empower them to really move into a place within themselves so they feel the confidence to work along with us and create their businesses, to create their courses, to create their memberships. And we're going to show you how, we have so many wonderful people. David Bear, around Facebook, Julie Wolf about Skype. But we found out that all of it is connected. We can connect everything together, just like we do as human beings and nature and the cosmos. We're all connected.
We are.
That's the beautiful thing.
Totally, totally. And the master class really was an example of that connection in motion. From Aileen Boundy and Align with Your Purpose to Jason Hodge, who was doing a thing on YouTube and is going to do more. And we've got, the traffic master. Virginia Parsons with Google Hangouts on Air, a guru to both Cynthia and myself. And, I've been playing out here in Google Hangouts on Air for almost a year now, and I'm still learning things, and she's still a great mentor to me. And so having her to be able to come in and help to explain some things and do some things for our audience has just been amazing. And the traffic master, Jack Humphrey, coming in on April 17th to do his thing around the connection, you connecting with traffic. And I can't even think of everybody who was there. It was just an amazing experience, and you can have that experience. One of the things that we know is that the connection, the experience and connection in person is one thing. The experience and connection by phone is yet another. Yet there's an experience and connection in between those, which happens through video, that gives you the best of both worlds, because Aileen was in the United Kingdom, I'm in Atlanta, Cynthia's in Colorado, Jack is in Indiana, somebody else was in California. David Bear was in Seattle, Washington, and Portland, Oregon. Jason's in Seattle, Washington. So
we're having relationships with them.
Yes, yes.
We can be anywhere.
And there's no more allowance for the excuses of I'm a visual person and I can't do it over the phone, or it's not right, it doesn't, all of these things, or I'm kinesthetic, I have to touch it. Well, touch your keyboard.
Well, you can touch with the heart. You can touch with your voice. We didn't even go there. There's so much we want to help you and support you and help you fulfill your potential. We want to help you make those heart ventures, those heart connections. This is what life is about. It is making connections, relationships, so that we can have incredible experiences and have fun. This whole community that we've created was so much fun, and we will continue this fun, because when it comes to business, you cannot, life and business are not separate.
Right.
I love, or even work, even if you're not an entrepreneur and you're working for someone or you're doing whatever work, make sure you're, following your bliss, because if you're unhappy, then we want to help you find your happiness and joy. The thing is Khalil Gibran says, work is love made visible. Because when we go to work or when we go to make a difference with our businesses, that's what we're doing. We're trying. And I let go of try, because that doesn't get us anywhere.
There is no try.
Yes, it is about making connections. It is about setting out to fulfill your potential and your heart's desires. Just go and take that action and have that experience. You're not living if you're not going out and having an experience. So make it a good one. Make it a heart connection.
I just want to bring things back to where we started in January when we started the Adventures of the Heart show. And that is that at the beginning of 2015, and we will no doubt be in the frame of this thinking for the entire year, but it truly is that 2015 is the year of 8. It is the year of infinity. It is the year of infinite potential and possibilities. And when you consider where you are in your life and your business, if you see the possibilities and you're ready to make that move forward into those possibilities, we're ready to help you. If you know you have the potential, but you don't quite see the possibilities, we want to help you see the possibilities and then help you move into them. And we believe that that is not only what we were put on this earth to do right here, right now, but more importantly, that's why you're here with us right now. That's why you're here listening to this message, because nothing just happens. Nothing happens by chance. Nothing happens by luck. Relationships don't just happen. They are divinely guided. And, believe it or not, truth is truth, and that is truth for me. So I know that is what's happening for me. I know that's what's happening for Cynthia. And we would like to invite you into our world, into our experience of the potential that you have, being connected to the possibilities that we might be able to present to you. And in that connection, let's just see some things happen. Just see not just your life and your business being elevated and illuminated, but the world, because with each one reaching one, we can reach the entire world with the goodness of heart and the opportunity for amazing things to happen. So join us.
Yes.
Be with us. Come back next week and play with us. And in between now and then, hang out with us here at the Adventures of the Heart in the event page. Ping us with your comments. Add to the conversation. Cynthia and I both will be back in and out of the event page, adding to that conversation. And you'll see information about how you can get more about the upcoming master classes so that you can take advantage of being a part of that energy and that learning. One of the things that I can attest to very strongly is that we are both lifelong learners. While we are teachers, we are still lifelong learners. And if you are a lifelong learner like us and there's more for you out there, it's possible we've got it for you. Part of that infinite possibilities and potential. So ping us on the event page. And, we're getting ready to open the show for the after show. So Cynthia's going to post the link on the event page. Come on in and hang out with us for a while. We'd love to share some time with you and hear some of your experiences.
Yes, and so before I put that up there, I just want to thank everybody for joining us, and know that there are infinite possibilities and potential for you, and to open your heart, because you're going to open hearts also. And so one last thing is to take a nice deep breath into your heart and love yourself more today than you did yesterday. Thank you so much for joining us. And also, we will be posting, we have some incredible people this month that we are having on our show. So we will post it in each one, in this event page and those kind of things. So just look for us, and love you. Thanks for joining us.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.